Is your Xbox One feeling sluggish? Time for new hardware? Microsoft believes it has the answer.
We've got all the details on the Xbox Series X's impressive specs. Stick around for your daily charge.
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Charge. It's Monday, February 24th. I'm Roger Chang.
And I'm Eli Lubenthal.
And here are today's headlines. Microsoft's Phil Spencer just spilled the beans on details for the upcoming Xbox Series X console, and they sound impressive. Custom RDNA and Zen 2 processor from AMD that's 4 times faster than the Xbox One. The ability to hit 12 teraflops, or twice as much as the Xbox One X, which, I don't know, seems like a lot of teraflops. And graphical bells and whistles like ray tracing, which everyone's talking about. Perhaps my favorite feature, though, backwards compatibility with the original Xbox, the Xbox 360, and Xbox One, which kind of sucks for me because I just unloaded a bunch of older games to GameStop. But Eli, what do you think? You excited?
I am excited. Obviously, when it comes to a next generation of a video game console, there's going to be a lot of major, processor jumps. Mm-hmm. A lot has happened since even the Xbox One X came out just a few years ago.
Solid state drive as well. I've got to add that.
Solid state drive is one of the bigger things I'm excited for. Ray tracing, which will have better lighting effects on the games, will be nice.
Which I feel like that's the one feature that everyone, like NVIDIA talks about it.
NVIDIA's talking about it. Sony's talking about it. A lot of the specs.
But it's one of those things where, like, I guess unless you're a hardcore gamer, like, maybe explain for folks who aren't really into, like, that deep into the gaming world, like, what is ray tracing? Like, why should I care about it?
It's another level on a high level, another level of realism to these games.
In terms of what, like, the details of, like, explosions? Like, you'll get more granular detail? When you're
exploring an open world, you'll have a more realistic look. I guess Red Dead Redemption or whatever if they make a sequel to that, that will look a lot nicer. Gotcha. And coupled with all of the other benefits, those 12 teraflops and the improved AMD graphics. AMD graphics, by the way, I believe are going to also be in the PlayStation 5 that Sony's already talked about. Ray tracing is a feature that will be in the PlayStation 5. We're seeing a lot of the similar specs, just like there was on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, that may be the same on the PlayStation 5. Though Sony has been oddly quiet over the last few months. Yeah. Whereas Microsoft, they did the Game Awards reveal of the actual console. Mm-hmm. That was a big step. Obviously, today's news. Sony's biggest news over the last couple of months has been the logo,
the logo, the CES
the logo, unveil. Which is just
that was the biggest PS5. That was the biggest baller move ever at CES. Like, come here, check it out. It was
one of the biggest stories.
Same font. I know. Well, mostly because it was such a non-story, right? All right, Mobile World Congress might be canceled, but that doesn't mean the phone news has all dried up. Huawei unveiled an update to its foldable Mate X called the Mate XS, which is a faster processor and will finally be sold outside of China. And we don't have a price tag on this thing, but our own Andy Hoyle believes it'll clock in around $2,850. Now, Eli, do you think there's still excitement with foldables, or is there just too much controversy going around?
On foldables?
Foldables, yeah.
I think there was excitement. I don't know if there's nearly $3,000 worth of excitement.
Yeah.
Definitely is excitement, though. We've both been using the Galaxy Z Flip.
Yep.
Samsung's new Razr-like.
We've been sort of juggling the Razr and the Z Flip a little bit here in the office.
And I'm excited to see what Huawei's doing because it actually looks really cool. I was reading Andy's story, and the idea that there's less of a crease because of the way it folds, and it folds on itself as opposed to folding down.
Yes.
Or completely closing like the fold, or folding down like the flip.
The fold radius is a lot. It's a lot more forgiving.
Right. You saw the Mate. Is it the Mate X, Mate 10? What are they doing?
They call it the Mate X. I did see the Mate X a couple of times. It looks cool. It folds out, like you said. Feels. Decently sturdy. I don't think it's as sturdy as, say, the Z Flip or the Razr. Just, I think, partially because of the way it's designed.
That's an incredible statement given the fact that both of those phones are known for their durability.
Well, it's just, I think because it's a clamshell and the outer part of it just felt more secure. Like, this is, the foldable part is on the outside, which just psychologically makes you feel like it's more exposed. And it is plastic, which is prone to scratching. And so,
right. So my other question is this thing, you're paying $3,000 for this phone?
Yeah. You're
going to put it into your pocket, which generally has other things like keys.
If you can afford $3,000, you have someone hold that phone for you with white gloves.
I guess. And when you need it, you summon it.
Like a plebe, like put it in your pocket with keys, please.
Right.
For one, do you own, like you have someone carry those keys for you too, right?
Right. You're not driving.
No. All right. Of course, in other news, Huawei also teased its upcoming P40 flagship phone, which most people will actually buy as opposed to the Mate X. That's going to launch on March 26th, so mark your calendars. Of course, We'll be keeping you up to date on all the details of that phone.
March 26th, that's around the time that there's another event being rumored around. The Apple event over the weekend.
Perhaps.
March
a little bit later. Yeah, March 31st was the big rumor.
So Mobile World Congress is canceled, but I guess the end of March is when
it's still a busy time.
Everything happens.
Yeah. All right, lastly, Sony's back, and no, this isn't PlayStation 5 news. The company showed off its own premium phone, the Xperia 1 Mark II, a follow-up to its premium flagship Xperia 1. The notable thing is this is the company's first 5G phone. They also announced a second, or previewed a second device, right, Elon?
They teased it.
Yeah.
As I think
what is that other device?
So they talked about something called the Xperia Pro.
Yep.
So whereas the Xperia 1 Mark II,
fantastic name.
It's not LG ThinQ levels,
right?
But
right. It's up
and
there.
that's the bar that we have set for ourselves in this industry.
ThinQ 5G, by the way.
Right, ThinQ 5G, yes.
Yeah.
And there's usually a G8 or V60 or whatever. V50, I don't even know what they're up to. Anyways, the difference between the Pro and the Mark II is the fact that the Pro will have millimeter wave in addition to mid-band and low-band 5G. And Sony's talking about how you can plug this into a camera. They obviously make very popular video and digital cameras, and you can broadcast live over 5G from a stadium or big event.
Now, Sony struggled in the U.S., and we were going back and forth on whether or not what their actual presence was, but it's virtually non-existent.
Right. They used to have phones here. They sold a PlayStation phone here, the Xperia Play, way back in the day. That was an exciting phone. I think that was the last time I was ever excited for a Sony phone in the U.S. Verizon sold it. It had a PlayStation
I remember.
slide
I think
out.
I reviewed that phone for the Wall Street Journal back in the day, in the ancient days. But it has been AT&T sold a bunch of those phones. We were just looking up. Verizon does sell a Sony phone, but it came out in 2014.
Yeah, they have a phone on their website. It was hard to tell if it's even sold at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if you tried to buy it now. They're like, no.
It may not even let you. It'll be interesting to see what Sony does with regards to their phones, given that they have PlayStation 5 coming out.
Yes.
And that you're dealing in a world that now has Stadia with increased support from Google for their gaming platform. You have Microsoft increasing support for xCloud, which is their cloud gaming service around the Xbox that will be launched later this year.
I don't know why they didn't just break down and just make a PlayStation phone with cloud service.
And maybe that's where this is going.
Yeah.
But that's been
I feel like
for a while.
The Xperia brand is just does anybody care about the Xperia brand?
That's a great question. In the U.S., probably not.
Well, definitely not in the U.S. It is actually a legit question around the world because I don't know how popular it is outside the U.S. I know in the U.S. it's non-existent. But
one of the things I wonder the same thing with LG.
Yeah.
Because LG has, over the years, increasingly seen its at least U.S. presence decline.
Yes, for sure.
Can't speak for how it's faring in its home country, South Korea.
I mean, globally, its market share has dwindled. Right. So, yeah.
But at the same time, you have companies like Sony who's making all these image sensors for everybody else. And you have companies like LG who are making the displays for everybody else. And they're doing these big components. Part of it, I guess, may be that they want to, do something on their own since they are so heavily involved in the process.
Right. We'll see. All right. So if you have any questions or comments about today's topics, now's the time to open things up. We're laser focused on Xbox and Huawei and Sony today. So if you have any hot takes about either the Xbox specs, the reveal of the Mate XS, or the Sony phones, although I don't think anyone will.
If you owned one, let us know.
Yes, actually. Otherwise, if you have any other tech-related questions, we're happy to take those as well. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe and ring the bell so you can join us for all the live shows. In the meantime, BVG, what do we got?
So, Eli, you caught me off guard when you were talking. You said it was the last time I was excited, and I thought you were just going to stop there.
He's pretty, low-key guy. He doesn't get excited that
ball
often.
of energy.
I got nervous for a second, though. Like, the way you were phrasing it is like it was the last time.
It's like when I started
excited.
here, I was just even-keeled.
That was it. Was it 2010, 2011? I haven't been happy.
The PlayStation
in 10
phone?
years.
Or the Xperia Play? God, it's been a while.
I haven't been excited about anything ever in 10 years since the Xperia Play.
You sound like
Alfred.
Alfred.
That sounds so sad.
Because the phone wasn't a good phone.
No,
either.
it wasn't. Because it probably ended in disappointment, like huge disappointment.
It almost definitely did. I remember using it. It was, that was not that was not a good phone or a good game system. It was just a novel idea.
Yeah.
Which is why I was excited. Sorry, BVG.
All right, we've got some gamers in the house.
All right.
Let's open this up. Eric says, real question, Xbox or PlayStation? Go ahead, sound off. Eric himself is a PlayStation user. I have one of each.
Yeah, I use both, depending on the game. Honestly, for me, I'm a big baseball fan. I do get excited about baseball, just going back to getting excited. It is baseball season. Spring training games just started, as you know, Roger.
Yeah, I follow that religiously.
But totally. That's something that's only available
I'm
for
here
now.
with you, Eli. I'm excited as well.
Thank you. We'll have a long chat after. Maybe join a fantasy league together. But MLB The Show, up until recently, has been a Sony exclusive title.
Yes.
Bringing us back to our question at hand, they announced plans to eventually, in the future, expand to other platforms, which will be interesting to see what that looks like. Sony making a game for the Xbox Series X would be fascinating to see. But yeah, some games I enjoy playing on PlayStation. Others I enjoy playing on Xbox.
So I've been Xbox pretty much like my entire life. Not entire life, but since the life of the Xbox franchise. I've had the Xbox, the original one, the 360, the one that like the Halo edition one.
I have the Call of Duty edition.
But pretty much stopped playing like hardcore consoles like when my first kid was born, and he's around 4 now, or he'll be 4 soon. So it's been a while since I've actually actively picked up the Xbox One. I think I did for Red Dead Redemption 2 for a little while, but I couldn't get through it because it was an open world game, and open world games do not work with parents with young children. I have, but I do have like a Nintendo Switch, and I'm like 100% hardcore in Nintendo Switch because I can play that remotely. I almost exclusively play video games on my train ride in and out, and that's basically it. Once I get home, I have to like take care of the kids, so that's why I'm so into it. But
I'm just saying, there's a lot you could teach your children from Red Dead Redemption.
There is. Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, horseback riding.
Like, yeah, you hunting.
The Wild West.
Sure, like how to shoot correctly, how to properly aim.
It's very important life skills.
Once you take out the auto aiming feature, but yeah, it's lots of life skills in Red Dead Redemption 2 for sure.
I'm going to sound like the absolute fence sitter on this one, but I feel like a lot of consoles have their own place in this world. Like, I love my Switch too, but am I going to put it side by side with a PS4 or even a PS5? Like, no. They all have a good reason for existing. I'm kind of in the same mentality as you now, Roger. I don't have a kid, but like being able to play that Switch on the go, it's completely changed the game for me. That's what I've always wanted, and to be able to take the console experience, emulate it in your pocket, and run. Yeah, that's a winner for me.
Which is what Sony could do with a PlayStation phone.
I agree.
And
I think that's what Microsoft's
planning, and that's what Google's trying to do. And there's been rumors that Amazon might get in this space. Obviously, Apple with Apple Arcade has been trying, obviously not to the level of Sony or Microsoft or Google, but mobile gaming is a very, very open space right now, and it's a very exciting space.
Yeah, especially if they can sort of nail that experience, right? The idea that you can take it from your TV to on-the-go experience, and like.
And with 5G, that actually could become
it could
a
happen,
thing
right?
Once we get to
once we actually get
better
coverage
networks
and devices and all that other stuff, but. Yeah, we're almost there. And like the Switch is kind of a nice. Like, that's why I like it. But like, if there's a way to like take the Switch hardware out of the equation and just keep it to my phone, that's one less thing I have to carry. That's
you want to play Zelda on your phone.
Yeah, I'd have to buy a bigger phone, a slightly bigger phone, but it's fine. I would do that.
Depends on which Zelda.
For Zelda.
Okay, so now that we're talking about consoles, kind of versus the grand scheme of things, let's talk casual. I myself am a filthy casual. Go ahead and call me out for it. But guys like Matthew in our YouTube chat says, I'm not a heavy gamer. Why would I pick an Xbox or a PlayStation or vice versa? This is where things like the Apple Arcade, Stadia, and mobile gaming come into play for someone who's just looking to burn some time playing a game, have some fun. Yan says, any comparison with Stadia? No one seems to really be talking about that anymore. I wonder why.
Yeah, no one's talking about Stadia because Stadia, there's not really much to talk about right now with them.
Yeah, look, they launched it. I think they launched
it with games that were already available on the other platforms.
I think they wanted to plant their flag in the ground. I think they wanted to get the sort of the infrastructure in place, the service in place. I don't think it's a great experience right now. Like, at least the first couple of weeks when we had it on, Scott had it on the show. Yeah. Like afterwards, we were playing Destiny 2 on it, and it was really janky. Like the experience was just. Granted, the reception here is not that great. The coverage in this studio in particular, but the idea, the whole promise of being able to take your game on the go and do all this stuff. Right now, it's just all the technology, the infrastructure around is not quite.
It's very early days for Stadia.
It's not ready for Stadia, for like the full promise of Stadia yet.
Right, and that will take time. And the same way, Microsoft's doing right now a beta with xCloud.
Yep. No, exactly. That's why. Like, it's good that these companies are doing it now, right? They're kind of getting their foot in the door. They're getting started putting this all together and figuring out what works, what doesn't work. But like for a consumer, it's fine if you understand that you're a beta tester for this experience, no matter how like polished or finished it is right now. But for like most folks who are just casual gamers who don't want to be at the cutting edge, it's not the time.
And it's going, if you're picking a console, it's really going where your friends are.
Yeah.
If you're picking a casual
I don't have friends, Eli.
Sorry, I'll be your friend, Roger.
No, that's cool. That's
okay, cool. This is good conversation here.
Roger's only friends are his kids.
That's right. I don't go out. I'd be a terrible friend. You wouldn't want me as a friend.
Okay, next one is coming in from a Steely Dan fan on Periscope. Deacon Blues 70 says, with most of the game houses showing loyalty to PS5, what must Xbox do to differentiate itself?
Well, I don't know if most of the game houses are showing loyalty to PS5 over the Xbox Series X. When it comes to a AAA title,
right?
A Call of Duty, a Red Dead, a Grand Theft Auto,
there are some exclusives, but I think that's Sony like just spending money. I don't know if
and
that's
Microsoft
loyalty.
was the same way for years.
I don't know if it's loyalty. I think it's more money being handed
right. If
out.
you're being touted at a press conference, it's usually you have some kind of, again, some monetary arrangement of some kind or marketing arrangement of some kind. It's not that it's not going to be on the other platform. It's more that Sony or Microsoft gave that developer money to say that they are, a launch title or, a big partner.
So, I don't
plays best.
I guess I'm more cynical. I don't think it's loyalty or anything like that, or like some sort of handshake agreement or like old buddies. I think it's just
money.
Whoever can dole out the biggest bag of money.
And these companies both have large chests,
they
can do that.
They do.
Sticking with our Periscope audience, I'm going to paraphrase this one from Raldi Island, saying, what has PlayStation done, what has Sony done to protect themselves, to protect their users out there from having their credit card info stolen again?
Oh, there's reference to the old Sony hack, right? With PlayStation.
There was a handful of hacks that impacted Sony in a rapid span of time.
That's a few years back.
Yeah.
I
believe at the time they said they were taking a lot of steps to improve that.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
And nothing is foolproof. Like nothing is like unhackable. So, I'm sure Sony is doing what other companies are doing in terms of best practices. I hope they are. But even if they are, I wouldn't I'd still be vigilant and stay prepared.
Yes, if you know something strange on your credit card statement, you should probably call your credit card company.
Yeah.
Eric says, bring back the Game Boy Tetris, a.k.a. storage unit stacking. Yikes, man. Way to go on some deep cuts there.
Deep cut.
Seriously deep cut. Opinion. This is really specific. He said, will Flight Simulator, the new version, be exclusive to Xbox? I'm not even sure with who the developer and publisher is on that one. Do you guys know anything?
I thought it was Microsoft Game Studios.
It is Microsoft Game Studios.
So,
I've seen it, and it looks amazing.
I haven't played Flight Simulator since the first one back in the 90s.
So the version that they came out, they did a preview a couple of months ago.
I've never seen you this excited about something.
I'm not even into the game, but I saw it. It's like they use I forget what how they do it, but it's basically they've rendered the entire world. Every single airport that exists is in this game, and it's rendered completely accurately. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating to me how they did it. I can't quite recall the process they did to kind of compute and render all this stuff in real time, but because there was a broader Microsoft Cloud story behind it, but which is why I'm excited because I love the cloud. I guess I don't know, but. I think it might be an Xbox exclusive. I don't actually know.
Microsoft Game Studios titles, the same way most Sony titles, are generally exclusive to their platform as a way to get people, when they're looking between the Xbox and the PlayStation, to choose one over the other. So,
although this was, reading the coverage, it definitely felt like more of a PC game than an Xbox. I'm sure it'll be on Xbox. But
one of the things Microsoft's been touting for years is the fact that you could play across PC and Xbox. And this was a long vision that was teased last decade. I think even when Bill Gates was there with Xbox Live Anywhere. It's going way back, and it's finally coming to fruition. So even if it's on PC, I could see it very much arriving on Xbox Series X, especially with all the improvements that they're making and the fan base around Flight Simulator being what it is.
I was excited by the prospect of it, not for something I would play at home, but like virtual reality arcade, VR arcades or whatever. Like that kind of experience, that kind of VR experience would be pretty cool.
And you love airports.
Yeah.
The new LaGuardia is...
well, I'm excited for the new LaGuardia because the old LaGuardia was just a piece of something.
Right. We're
something.
We're on air. We should keep the language.
We've got some wish listers popping into the chat on YouTube right now talking about the games they want to see come to Apple Arcade. And let's go ahead and just say, like, if it's Apple Arcade, it's viable for Stadia, mobile, etc. Just other games from our past. What's our wish list? What do we want to see start poking its head out there? Jeremy says, I want Street Fighter on arcade or other retro fighting games. Eric says Gran Turismo. I'd love to see one of those have they gotten a Gran Turismo running on mobile yet?
Yeah, there was I think there was a couple of GTA, like, how's it, GTA 3?
That's not Gran Turismo.
That's Gran Theft Auto.
Gran Turismo. Sorry. No, they definitely
I don't think they've done that.
They've always been visually stunning.
Yeah.
They all look absolutely incredible. The same way Forza looks amazing.
Yeah.
And that's just two titles developed by Sony and Microsoft that both look amazing to tout their platforms.
Yep.
As far as games I'd like to see come back, I'm a big sports gamer. So ESPN NFL 2K5 was a great game before Madden. Sorry, not EA Sports. It's ESPN NFL 2K5.
Got it.
Before EA Sports got the Madden license exclusively.
Is NFL Blitz still a thing?
NFL Blitz would be another great game. I would love
to play that game again.
It did have a resurgence some years ago. It got like a soft reboot somewhere, I believe. This is still a number of years ago. I don't remember the exact details, but it did bounce back for a hot second. But that
with
was
like new graphics or just like the same game?
It was like a new 3D port kind of thing. I wish I could give you more details. I'm not a gaming
historian. That game was just amazing
because like fun on mobile.
Well, yeah, totally. Like I just remember when the players are down, you just like elbow them. It's just amazing.
Yeah, fire and game breakers. Oh.
Yep.
Now, you know me, bring back anything from the Dreamcast and I'm sold. All right, we've only got another minute or two left. Here's a really good one from Opinion on YouTube. Do we know what Microsoft's special announcement at E3 might be?
Oh.
I don't know what they might do at E3, but it will be fascinating to see, given the fact that Sony's not going to be there.
Right.
They're very clear about that. Other companies have pulled out of E3. It's basically their show. And it's a pretty big show.
Yeah, and it coincides with the console launch, so they got to pull out all stops.
And they've been touting it and teasing it and hyping it.
Yep.
There's a lot to get excited for. I'm hoping we might finally get some ideas on how much this thing's going to cost and when exactly in holiday 2020, that large window, this thing will be available.
Yep.
That's what I'm hoping for out of everything else. I'm sure they'll be showing off games. I'm sure they'll be showing off all these crazy graphical features we talked about today and touting them and why you need
so
this
over
the Xbox One X
so much
or
ray
the
tracing.
One S. Yeah, so much ray tracing.
One X, right?
One X and One S are the two current ones.
One X is like the good one.
They're both
powerful.
Fine. If you want 4K HDR, you got to go for your games. You got to go for the One X.
Got it.
Yeah, not the 110 because every company still has X and S.
Crappy old Xbox One, just regular old one, no
and
letters.
And it works the same.
It works fine.
I'm curious to see what they... Roger.
Huh?
I've still got a 360.
Oh, I gave my 360 to Ben, actually.
I've got a 360 and a GameCube and a Dreamcast still all hanging out.
Wow.
Not collecting dust.
I don't have space for all this stuff. How do you keep this stuff all...
I bought an entertainment center.
Yeah. All right. Nice simple answer.
I have an entertainment center. It's like filled with random Legos and kids' toys now.
Well, that makes it not an entertainment center. That makes it
a
nursery.
It's just storage. That's my life, dude.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm not. I understand. I don't feel sorry for you, but I understand.
Got it.
Yeah. The other thing, just going back to the gaming part, not your nursery. Since he mentioned having multiple consoles, I'm curious what Microsoft does with the Xbox One. Because they came out with the new console just last year in the all-digital edition.
Yep.
They are, pushing Game Pass and they're pushing the lower price point.
Mm-hmm.
Do they take the approach that they took with the 360 and start a gradual phase out for Series X, or is Series X designed for at least the next few years to coincide with the Xbox One line? Will the Xbox One line be the, introductory level and the Series X be the step-up level?
Yeah.
we're talking about this as a new generation,
right?
Which would imply that they're going to get rid of the old one, but they haven't really talked about it. They've
sort of like
mentioned
the Apple model of like how they've just gradually expanded the lineup. So like the older models or like the budget models, and since they all technically work together,
they have cross-platform compatibility between PC and Xbox now. Expanding that between PC, Xbox, Series X, and Xbox One could be something they do.
And technically speaking, do you know how they do backwards compatibility with the older games?
On the Xbox Series X? I don't think they've talked about that yet. If it's going to be
because it was always so clunky with the one, right?
Well, the one was doing basically a virtualized
system. Yeah, exactly.
System.
But the way they did it was so like it was very like kludgy, right? They had to wait for games to come out slowly. They
went to the point where they just remastered a whole bunch of games.
Right. But there's still plenty of games that just they weren't available.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just curious how they're making this promise, particularly with the older games, or if they're just basically remaking them all in a virtualized form. It's kind of fascinating.
Yep.
A lot of them, they do have to build the assets from the ground up all over again. So
But that seems like
to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that just seems like a huge amount of resources to fulfill that promise.
If the nostalgia's there, the money can be made though. Like.
Right, we've seen that time.
Well, no, but if they're saying backwards compatibility, and like I have an old Xbox game that I want to play, that's not more money for Xbox or for Microsoft.
Oh, right? I see where you're coming from. Right? I thought you meant like virtual, like arcade games.
No. Like the promise of being able to play games back in the original Xbox. Like, how are they going to make that work, and how does that even work financially?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's kind of the closing thought I wanted us to go out on today. I really love all this cross-platform capability. Of course, I love backwards compatibility, being someone who spent money on video games over a series of decades. But do we wonder... I had a similar thought when the Nintendo Switch came out. Is Nintendo going to bother developing a desktop platform versus a mobile platform, or is there just going to be one synonymous gaming experience now? Is that going to change the way people play games? No, it didn't. I feel like I know the answer to this one too, but is backwards compatibility, does that deter you from buying new games? How do they make it a sustainable thing? Do we think that the gaming platforms are going to start basing more heavily on their subscription services? Like, you're going to need to be a PlayStation View customer or whatever it is.
PlayStation View is dead.
Sorry, not View.
They killed that in January.
Not View. You know what is their game?
PlayStation Plus.
Plus, thank you.
Yeah,
of course it's Plus. What isn't Plus these days? Are you going to need to be a Plus subscriber to maintain your backwards compatibility? Is all backwards compatibility going to start just becoming downloads that you keep? Is that going to slow you down from trying to buy old shelf porn, which I like to call it, which is the only reason to buy? It's the only reason to buy discs anymore. They're not even really worth it, but if you like having it on your shelf, good for you. I got no problem. Any thoughts before we wrap it up?
I think the push to subscription services is something that everybody is doing.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that regardless of industry.
And regardless of whether or not it's about backwards compatibility, like access, or future games, I feel like, cynically speaking, these companies see the huge profit margins that come from charging subscriptions, and it's just too tempting. That's ultimately why they're doing this.
And that's why Microsoft's pushing Xbox Game Pass so hard.
Right.
In the same way Apple's pushing Arcade very, very hard, and Google's pushing Stadia as a subscription service.
It's a nice bit of recurring revenue, very little cost. It's not like making hardware.
Right, especially when you're dealing with something exactly. Once you get rid of that, I guess as you so eloquently put it, shelf porn, once you knock that off, that's a significant chunk of money that's no longer tied down to a physical media.
But in terms of like whether or not it's one or the other, I think it's going to be both for a long time. I don't think we're in a world where we're going to give up our consoles for a while, and I don't think Xbox or Sony want to be in that world quite yet.
Even though they talked about the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One at the launch, at least, as being like the last of the consoles, the traditional consoles, because everything's going to move to the cloud. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're going to talk about when they start talking about Series X and PlayStation 5 in greater detail. But yeah, the recurring revenue is just too enticing.
Yeah. But we'll see at E3. Maybe they'll talk about it.
Well, keep sounding off, everybody. We want to know what your gaming perspective is. Are you a nostalgia nerd? Are you going to look forward to more cross-compatible, backwards compatibility? Have you maintained that library yourself over the years? Are you sitting on a whole ton of jewel cases, or have you started to digitize? Also, keep sounding off with the games you want to see coming to some of these platforms, specifically the mobile likes of the Stadias and Apple Arcade. Shout out to Eric, who is an old Amiga guy who likes California games. Good Lord, that was a mess. Also, Not a Spider says Cruisin' USA. That game was dope. Original Ninja Turtles, also a man after my own heart. So keep sounding off here in the chat, in the comment section, on Twitter, and we'll talk to you there. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow, and Roger's going to take us home.
Yep, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and as always, if you want to learn more, there are links to all of today's stories in the description below. Plus, the show is also available as an audio podcast. Links to subscribe to that are also in the description. For the Daily Charge, I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Eli Blumenthal.
Thanks for joining us.
Can't get enough? Check out The Daily Supercharge, our extended post show with special features, audience Q&A, and in-depth reviews. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.